name is Jayson Flory, and I am with Realty One Group Complete as our broker. I run a team of 10 with Turn the Key Real Estate out here in Rockland, which is basically just outside of Sacramento, and borders Roseville, Granite Bay, some other areas here that we serve. Been in real estate now for about 8 years. Started on a team, which was where I was introduced to CINC, and it was a very small team. I kind of outgrew it, so to speak. And because my goal when I started there was to take over the team for the team leader, just because of my background with leadership. I've ran multiple Lifetime Fitnesses, 24-hour fitnesses, teams of 65 people at a minimum. I was in the Air Force where I used to run crews on an airplane of 100 people. So with that passion and background and leadership, it was all I got into real estate because I saw it as an opportunity to learn a new industry, but to lead a team. And so when I outgrew that team, I joined a different team. And well, actually, I went on my own. And then it was about 3 years ago when I officially left there, came to Realty One, full on in my team, and here we are. I'm very tech forward, always looking maybe too much for that shiny little object, right? Maybe that's also why I've left a couple times and back, which I'm sure we'll get into. Um, but yeah, so the way I use it, the way I use AI right now is really automations. My team knows you got to run things through chat or their favorite, which is typically chat, like everybody else, before coming to me with your suggestions on what you should do for content or your questions. And don't ask me for what you should do with content, because chat should know you better than I do. If you're spending enough time with it and if you've run through the prompts that I've given you. And so I use it a lot for social media presence, content. I have so many automations set up to where I can take a screenshot from an update that I get from Chicago Title on a weekly basis. I just screenshot my activity. I put that into chat, and then it will give me a description for every social media platform. Give me exactly what I need to say for the content that I'm going to put out in that market update. I have been using HeyGen, so I've just been copying that, putting it in HeyGen, and then letting my VA take it from there. But as of this weekend, I've gone back to just me doing it, just because I don't think HeyGen's really there yet. So it's still a little bit robotic, and with the YouTube algorithms and those things, I know that they are definitely filtering those out. From the recruiting standpoint, I haven't aggressively been doing so, just because I didn't, from an insecurity standpoint or whatever, I didn't feel my systems were exactly where they needed to be to take on 3, 4, 5 more agents at a time. And which is, again, why one of the reasons why I'm coming back to you guys, because the ease of onboarding and those things. But in the last 2 weeks, I have launched a campaign going after a certain group of agents and just showing them, hey, we're ready to help. I emailed 2,000 people, last week. And with using AI with that, I now have a series of the next 4 emails are going to go out to them as well. It's already planned, so I don't have to do anything. So again, it's, like I talk about in the book, it's AI isn't going to replace you. It's going to, agents that use AI are going to replace you. So many people are so scared of using AI because I don't know what I'm going to do with it, so I don't even want to get started. And I equate that to like back when the new phone of the flip phone came out, and you open it up, and to text the word bad was 2223. That's the same today as going, I don't really want to use AI. Really? You're going to go back to the flip phone? Like, it doesn't make sense. And so you better use it fast. And again, kind of with CINC, right? Like CINC is kind of like Apple. Apple doesn't come when you buy your new phone that comes out every year and you don't really need it anyways. When you buy your new phone, it doesn't come with instructions. They never do. You buy an Apple product, there's no instructions on how to use it because it's so user friendly. There's not a instruction manual really needed with CINC. Maybe if you were to first use it from the very beginning, but when I launch, CINC again here in the next few days, I don't have to go look anything up. I just turn it on and go. And so I started with CINC because that was the team that's what he had, right? And so that's what I knew. That's what I was onboarded with, and great. I'll use your product. Cool. As a team member, not a team leader, I wasn't gonna start looking into things. I didn't even know how to sell a house. I'm not going to tell you how to run your company, right? Yeah, so I went with that and I learned it. I was teaching it on the team. Obviously, it's a very user friendly system in CRM. And but then when I went on my own, I was like, okay, now shared expenses or not, taking on these expenses, what else is out there? And so I did start to look around and was introduced to one called Chime, not the credit card, but the CRM, which was really weird that they had the same name, which is already, I mean, it was so great that it's not even existing anymore. And that was super clunky. It was not friendly at all to use. I wasn't even onboarding people with it. I just couldn't even use it myself. Like the calls, it was a bad product. So I went back to CINC, as I told my rep back then, just logging into the platform for the first time, it was like my shoulders dropped. It's like, ah, I'm home again, right? And so I maintained that relationship, and then uh, around the summer of last year, so that would have been probably 3 more years into having CINC again. I kept hearing about Sierra through very big names in the industry. I was like, okay, there's got to be something there. I'd rather my money go to lead spend, and I just kept hearing about SEO before I got into AI very heavily, and so uh, because of that, I'm like, okay, I'm looking at CINC. My SEO isn't, the organic leads is non-existent. They're telling me they're going to get 20%, which I knew was a lie. Like, you're not going to get 20% organic. But even if I could get to 5, that's still 60 leads a year, on average. So I made that switch. I actually kept CRN Sync for way too long. Economically, it was about 6 months because I had it at the end of last year. So it was about a year ago. I got Sierra, but I couldn't transfer over. I tried to transfer myself, but their system didn't take the CSV file that I created, and I had to go hire this guy. That was an extra $2,500 to hire him so that he can go crawl everything and move over the searches and all these things. I'm like, okay, well, I'm already paying for 2 CRMs to throw $2,500 at it at the same time, and it's Q4 is not really the most fruitful in the real estate industry. So it was a challenge. So it wasn't until probably January of this year that I hired him. He did his thing, got everything moved over, and then I was threatening the team, you got to learn Sierra. But because they knew what they knew, as we all don't adjust, more often than not to change, which is why a lot of agents I think are going to be gone if they don't use AI. It was very challenging getting my team to finally switch over until I just finally pulled the plug on CINC. It was like warning out, you guys, CINC's gonna be gone. And then it was, and it was a complete disruption in the business. I think, with the team of 10 that we have right now, I think we missed probably 10 transactions at a minimum this year. So it was just kind of time where I was like, you know what? Like, enough's enough. I've given these guys a year. Support's garbage. Literally, like, my site's not even online as we speak, as we're doing this podcast. I called, didn't get anybody, emailed them. I get the 2 follow-up emails that say, go to all these links and see if you can. It's kind of like an old Google search. Oh, we think this is what you want. We're not even going to guess this is what you want. Just go look at our resources. And I've had 2 meetings with somebody specifically for my business in the last year. So having that person on sync on a monthly basis that knows my business, knows my lead spin, knows my team challenges, those kinds of things, that was super valuable. Um, and so, yeah, it just came to the point where I can only try for so long. Like my coach told me 2 months ago, he's like, you need to take ownership and just learn it yourself. Great in theory, but where do I go carve out those 20 hours? And even then, if I go learn it and it's super clunky for my team, they're not going to carve out 20 hours. Either you get on the phones or you don't, right? And so back to the story with the agent. So I brought them all in last week to make the announcement. And I just told them, hey guys, I started off with, I can admit when I'm wrong. I've been wrong for a year. And, please forgive me. And we're going to go back to sync. And, the ones that were on the team before we made the switch, I mean, one of the faces was like pure shock and elation. One of, my agents, she's fist pumping. There's literal tears in the room. And it was, for me, it was one of those things like I posted on Instagram, when you're making a business decision that creates positive emotion, you're making the right decision. And that's how it was for me. And so, so we had this meeting, the ones that had been here, they know what they're going back to and the excitement of it. But the one agent, she came to me after, because it was one-on-one time, and I'm like, and I'll just say it because she's fine with it. But I was like, Alicia, like, you're making 25 calls a week. Like, what's the deal? She's like, it's so clunky. And so we started looking. I'm like, yeah, but you haven't made more than a couple hundred. And so we started going back in her pipeline. It was literally the week before we went to Sierra. She made 600 phone calls in a week. 400 the week before that, three the week before that. And she's like, that's when you cut off sync. And I'm not trying to be, antagonistic, but it's just that clunky. She's like, look, let's go through it right now. And of course, we can talk about it now, knowing that we're making the move, but it was true. Like, she pulls it up and she's like, all right, let's call these people. Okay, that call's over now. Now for me to make notes, I got to go back to that person, make the notes, make the changes, to wherever they're at in the system. And then I have to hit this button. It's going to take 10 seconds for it to restart. And the other thing, that this probably is what really made me make the move back, and admit my wrongdoings. I was in a one-on-one with a different agent. She's newer, and she's like, I really want to be more productive. I want to make some phone calls, which is unheard of in our industry, right? What can I do other than make phone calls, right? And so, but I was having this one-on-one with her, and I logged in as her and Sierra, and I'm like, well, you gotta click your leads here, and then you hit call. I'm like, well, actually, no, that's not what I think you do. And then I defaulted, horrible leader moment. I defaulted to, well, I don't make as many calls in the system anymore, so I'm not as up to speed on it. You should probably talk to one of their agents. I was like, Ugh, that doesn't sit well with me. I don't even know my product manager, whatever you want to call him, client success manager, I think is what they call him. I don't even know his name. And in the last year, I've had to fight just to get 2 one-on-one meetings with him. 2. And he gives me a ton of great info, but it's like, okay, I can go try and do that. But then when I have questions, you're going to send me back to these links in the website. And I'm like, that's not how I learn. And it shouldn't take me this long to learn your product. I'm not a smart man, but at least, so then give me something simple enough to apply so that we can run. And so I've got to be better, and I've got to know, okay, if I bring on an agent, I can have them on the phones with the system that they can understand and follow within 5 minutes. And I had a conversation with my broker about it as well. I say, hey, here's some changes I'm making and this and that. And one of his cautions was make sure you're not making the ex-girlfriend move. Don't go back to her just because it's comfortable. The things that you like about her, what you don't like about her. And, and so, I definitely, took that into uh, caution or whatever. But I'm like, no, like, but the things that I know her faults, which SEO, okay, we're moving on from that, right? Like SEO, nobody's going to be Googling in 2 years anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Um, and so we're putting so much over on AI as it is, and chat and the blogs and all these different things, and now you have Zillow, and what they're doing with ChatGPT. Your Google reviews mean less. Now you have to, and so I'm like, okay, and for me, it's the support system that makes a ton of difference in the ease of use. So you do get what you pay for, and then you add in all the other stuff that we've talked about that I didn't have the same value on before, but is turned to becoming invaluable. And so uh, it's hard to put a price on what would I have paid in the last year to have somebody every month talking to me about my business, or to have that system. Yeah, to have that system that when I onboard an agent, I can do so in confidence that it's not going to be clunky and we can just go, right? And that the productivity isn't going to diminish. And so it's, you know, I'm excited. Yeah, YouTube, Instagram. I think TikTok's the same. It's all at real estate Jayson. It's Jayson. Those are really the easiest ways to get a hold of me. On my Instagrams, my link tree. So you can click there. Actually, if you click that, you can have the QR codes from the book so you don't even have to buy it, or you can go buy the book too.